Hey folks, my name is Pravus, and welcome to a very early look at Endless Legend 2. This is easily one of my most anticipated strategy games of 2025, mostly because I was a very big fan of the original Endless Legend. It is up there as one of my favorite 4X games of all time. After Amplitude Studios went independent, I was a little concerned that the sequel may never see the light of day, but we got the surprise announcement not terribly long ago, and now Hooded Horse has gotten me access to an early demo. In this video, we will be exploring as much of the game as we are allowed to, making a few comparisons to the original, pointing out some cool features, and maybe a few areas for improvement. Now, if you have not seen Endless Legend before, it is a beautiful blend between fantasy and sci-fi. The lore can get a little bit complicated, but in the first game we played in the world of Auriga. In the second game, we are moving to a new planet entirely, Saiadha, which is a world facing a cataclysm we've never seen before and is home to a set of new factions, two of which are playable in this demo. The first is the Kin of Sheredyn, warriors from beyond the stars, very martial focused in their story, and the second are the Aspects, a weird blend between biological and synthetic life forms. They seem like the peaceful diplomatic faction, right up until you realize they're actually a bunch of mind-controlling coral monsters, but that's something we'll deal with another day. For now, let's play as the Kin of Sheredyn. I think they'll be easy to understand. There is a third faction in this demo that we can see but not play, and that is going to be the Necrophage, who have a totally different playstyle. Actually, that's one of the things that was always really cool about Endless Legend. In order to win the game, you could just eliminate all the other players, or you need to complete a narrative storyline, and every faction has a different storyline and has different strengths and weaknesses that make them all play very differently and asymmetrically from each other. It's one of the reasons I loved Endless Legend 1. If they are able to preserve that in Endless Legend 2, I'm going to be a very happy camper. Anyway, without that said, let's go ahead and get started. And here we go. Now, just like with the first game, we're going to find that the world is divided up into a number of different regions or territories, and you can see these little borders along here. The first thing we need to do is place down our capital, but you can only place down one city per region, so placement is extremely important. In most 4X games, if you do not settle on turn 1, you end up losing a lot of valuable production, but one thing that's cool about Endless Legend 2 is it actually kind of offsets that damage a little bit. If you do delay placing down your capital, you'll gain something called the Prepared Settlement bonus, which is actually a 50% bonus to all your yields for as many turns as you delayed. So it's not enough to completely make up for any losses by not settling on turn 1, but it does strongly encourage you to explore a little bit and make careful decisions before you commit, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and split some forces over here real quick. We're just going to look around, see if I can find a really good spot for a capital city. And there are at least a couple of decent spots, but I'm really attracted to this option up over here. 2 anomalies nearby mean that I will get a lot of extra yields, which we can turn on here. Actually, wait, that's 3 anomalies. I'm sorry. 3 anomalies here around our capital. Oh boy. That is a lot. It would strongly restrict my ability to grow the city in the directions I want to, though. Maybe this isn't the best spot. If I were to place my capital city right along here, and then grab this territory and attach to my city later on, we might be able to get a lot of value out of that. Yeah, I think that's the direction I want to go, so we're going to go ahead and place down our capital city right along over here. So we're not going to delay, we're going to settle on turn 1, but I think this is at least respectable. Now, the yields in this game are the same as they are in all of Amplitude Studios 4X games. We have food, industry, dust or gold, we have science, and we have influence. In this case, I am very industrially focused, for better or for worse. So one thing I could do is maybe move some of my population, of which I only have 1, to stop working in production and go move into food to just double up my growth time. I would like to have more populations so I can get as many scribes getting me science and influence as early as possible. Now, one really key difference about Endless Legend 2 from the previous game is the way that cities are actually developed. You're going to see all these hexes have little walls around them. These contained areas are called foundations, and I can expand my empire by spending influence to just grab more tiles and add them to the city, and that's how you're going to work the tiles. However, you're not done once you pick these up. You want to develop them. And that's where you can go to this districts button right here and click on, let's say, a district right here to see what your options are to build a single structure. You can build one building on every tile. So for example, maybe I want to place down a works. This would get me 3 more industry and 1 more influence per turn. Plus, there are adjacency bonuses if I were next to a ridge, which I'm not, but you get the idea. So placing some of these buildings based on the geography really can be important. Now, one thing I would really like in this game is instead of having to click on a tile and then hover over each of these to figure out what the yield is and why this is not a good location for works, but this one is, instead I'd rather just click on the districts button, see a list of buildings, click on one, and it shows me all the potential yields of all my foundations. That way it'd be a little bit faster for me to figure out where I actually want to place my buildings and optimize my city. For now, though, let's just go ahead and start by placing down a works. I would like to get some more of that industry. And now that we have a city, we can start our science. Let's go ahead and open that up. Just like in Endless Legend 1, science is broken up into many different tiers. You have to unlock a certain number of technologies from the first tier to move on to the second, and so on. We start off with 2, so we have that workshop, and we have some defensive fortifications. Question is, what do we want next? I actually do feel like going for the forum is a very good opener here because getting influence is extremely important if you want to continue growing your city, and there's a lot to do with influence. So we'll pick that up early on. I'll also want to get some farms. I want to get some science buildings. I need gold generation, or dust, sorry. So you get the idea. There's a lot of competing priorities here. And before we end our turn, one other thing to see here is we did discover a minor faction, the Black Hammers. Just like with Endless Legend 1, you will find these small independent powers throughout the world. If you either bribe them or make them happy by completing a quest, they can join your empire willingly. And if they won't do it, you can always just subjugate them using your military force and assimilate them that way. Every minor faction does have some sort of special benefit once they are assimilated, so it's usually worth having a good mix of different factions at your beck and call. For now, I would like to get my forces together and go and meet this faction, so let's do that. We'll talk to them. This will open up a small dialogue with the Black Hammers and give me a quest of some sort. In this case, they want us to destroy some gutless bandits. If we do this, they will be pacified, which is good, because then I can assimilate them, and they won't send out roaming armies to attack me. Also, I will get something called a mottled scythe, which is a hero weapon. We will talk about equipment in just a bit. So to pacify these guys, we're going to have to find these gutless bandits located down over here. Well, that shouldn't be too bad. There they are. Now, just like with Endless Legend 1 and most of Amplitude's 4X strategy games, they handle combat in a very different way. When you engage in combat, the world itself becomes your battleground, as you can see here. And you really want to use the terrain to your advantage, right? We're talking getting the high ground, using cover, and so on. We'll go ahead and engage in a manual battle, and I'll show you how this works. The Kin of Sheredyn really do like to have their units next to each other. They get a good strong defensive bonus if they do so. So I'm going to move my melee units forward and keep my range units in the back, as you might expect, and then let them start coming closer to me. Which the fools have done, and I can't imagine why. That was extremely stupid of you. So we'll go ahead and engage, and then use my range unit to hopefully finish them off. Perfect. And just like that, within a turn, we actually do have pacification for the Black Hammers. Nice. That gets me my reward. Oh, and it turns out there was actually a second village over here too. Now they're pacified as well. Even better. Now this is a really good opportunity to talk about that hero equipment since we have something, so let's go ahead and look at that with our hero Uerach over here. Heroes got reworked in this game a fair bit. As you play with them, they will start building up some friendships or some rivalries with other characters. And yeah, we can indeed equip different slots for our hero. We have a weapon. In this case, my range hero cannot use the mottled scythe, but we can hold on to this for later. There's also armor, an accessory, and a consumable slot. Heroes also will gain experience as they fight, and they can put that to use in the skill tree, buffing up themselves or buffing up the armies that they command. We'll come back to that later once I have a bit more to work with. Now that the game has progressed a little bit, we can see our main storyline begin. Now, I won't spoil everything about the Kin of Sheredyn, but basically what you need to understand is when we came to this world, we were led by a glorious general, Garen, who was practically a mythological messiah figure to our people. That hero did unfortunately disappear, and ever since then, our children have been lured by this idea that maybe someday they can find our long-lost hero. So this dialogue system down over here is going to lead us on a quest to find one of those missing youth. I don't really love the dialogue system back and forth, but I mean, it's fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. We have to search the mosaic halls with our hero, and that would get me 75 dust. Okay. Where are the mosaic halls, though? That's a question. Way over here. Okay. Now that we've unlocked our forum, let's go ahead and construct one of those, because I do want to start generating that influence as quickly as we can. And let's try researching a farm, I think, just so I can get more food and continue to grow. But before we go too far, it's occurring to me, we should actually get back up over here, because I want to claim this region. How do we do that? Well, by using an army, we can place down a camp. This would claim a territory by using my influence. I'll place this here. This is going to take 3 turns to place. Now, a camp can then be turned into a full-grown city for more influence, or you can spend influence to attach it to a city, and in our case, this capital would then control 2 territories directly. All the resources over here would also get transferred over to our capital. Let's talk to another minor faction while we are over here, since they're in the territory I just claimed. I'd like these guys to be pacified. They want me to bring a flask of duskfire to them. How the heck do I find that? No idea. We have gained enough experience to level up our character, so now we can choose from a number of different skills. Kind of like with technologies, as you invest in Tier 1 skills, you'll unlock Tier 2, and then eventually Tier 3. One thing to be aware of, though, while a lot of these skills can be very powerful in their own right, they are usually better depending on the attributes of your character. And those are might, resilience, intuition, and determination. So for example, this skill right here would get me extra shield whenever I use a defensive stance, but I get even more shield for every stat of resilience I have, which in this case is 3. So lots of resilience skills might be a more attractive option for this character. We also have discovered another little narrative event. These kind of things can happen periodically as you explore the world, and they present a few different options. For example, I could get 5 auric coral, whatever that is. We could also unlock notable Pirleru. I don't know what this means. Or we could blackmail this character. I don't know what this does, but this seems really good. 50% on district improvements across the board. Maybe this will let me reform my government in the future. I'm not sure. That is one of the fun things about Endless Legend 2. This is a very new world. I don't know everything yet. One thing you will undoubtedly notice, though, is that we are very much on an island. Everywhere I look, I can see coastline. This is going to be typical for every player. Everyone starts independent on their own little island or continent. But don't you worry. Give it some time, and players will be able to meet each other. Whoop. And hold on, we've now progressed enough in the game that something is about to happen. You see, like I said, the world is about to change. There is a cataclysm upon the world of Saiadha. In this case, it is going to be a horrible monsoon. This does a number of different things, including reducing my vision range, giving me extra rewards from every battle, and also sets up a whole new round of curiosities that we can discover. But this monsoon will pass in a few turns, and when it does, something new is going to happen. We'll come back to that, though. The other thing to be aware of is that our council has just unlocked with our first monsoon. This allows me to assign some characters to improve my capital in some way, so extra industry, for example, wouldn't be bad. We get even more experience on non-heroes, less influence required to build out foundations, and so on. Eventually, we'll be able to reform this council a little bit to change up our benefits. Less influence requirement on foundations are very strong at the beginning of the game, since we have so little influence to work with, so I will take this. We finally found the missing youth over here. Took a long time to move my hero in that direction. Now we have another quest. A necro horde has appeared. We'll have to fight them off for some much-needed influence. They are nearby. Can we actually just fight them and kill them right now? Yes, we could, and we wouldn't even lose anybody. Perfect. Let's do that. This then leads to another quest. Have 3 populations working as artisans for a turn. I need 3 pops to even do that in the first place. Well, with this influence, let's go ahead and attach this to our city, which is going to be great. So now this territory is controlled. And then I really want to get myself some more foundations and take advantage of all of these curiosities. So a bit of extra food seems like a very good idea, and it's dirt cheap since we have that advisor. More food and dust over here, more industry. There we go. All of a sudden, our capital is looking a lot better. We'll spend 1 turn doing those artisans that I said I would. There we go. That continues with the main quest. And unlocks a new military unit, the Chosen, one of the great units of the Kin. We can only ever have a few of these in the entire world, but they are juggernauts with a lot of health and do a lot of damage. The question now is, do we pursue a quest arc that lets us try to find our missing leader, which means we have to search a hermit's abode? No idea where this would be. Or we could try building one of those Chosen and get some extra approval in our capital. Approval is nice. The more you have, usually the better your production is going to be. Searching would be quite fun, but since I do not know where the hermit's abode is, and it could literally be on the other side of the world, I'd rather take something more consistent and just build up one of the Chosen. Oop, and it looks like the monsoon has passed. Now this is going to lead to one of the most interesting new mechanics for the game. Tidefall. You may have noticed a bunch of land just became available that previously was buried under the ocean. The oceans are quite literally receding, and this is going to open up new land paths to all the islands that previously had been inaccessible. We absolutely do want to make use of this new power. We'll come back to that in a minute, though. For now, one thing I think I'm going to go ahead and do is just buy out my Chosen, get that done real quick, which will lead to a new quest to find a long-submerged ruin that had been underneath the waves. We will need to bring 10 glasssteel, a special strategic resource, to that ruin to continue with the quest. Because yes, strategic resources like titanium, like glasssteel from the first game are now very much available, and they are extremely valuable. It is very much worth trying to expand and claim some more territories just to get access to any strategic or luxury resources. Now we're one technology away from being able to move on into the next tier of tech. What would make some sense here? Build bridges, more vision range, better battle spoils, more experience whenever I train up new units. It's all okay, I suppose. Guess I'll just take the strength of Garen, whatever that's supposed to be. More defense on units could be good. Now, welcome to a new era. Since we have enough technology, let's go ahead and open up that screen and see what else is going to be available to us. Yeah, a whole lot of new technology. Now, one thing that's great about this is, one, we can finally start getting things like titanium and glasssteel mines up and running. Very, very important for us. And two, in addition to new buildings for our districts, we can also get special improvements to make our existing districts more effective. The only problem with these is they usually do require some sort of a special material like titanium and glasssteel, so the top priority really needs to be getting these mines up and a-running. We could also get ourselves another hero, which I don't think is a bad idea. We could increase the number of Chosen I'm allowed to have. Sure, that's not bad. Plus more predictability for the season, so we know exactly when the next Monsoon is going to arrive. Yeah, stuff like that. I'm going to take the extra hero. I could see that being very useful. One thing I want to do is go ahead and assimilate some of these people. Now, the Unseeing Seers are great for us. 10 extra influence per pacified village under our protectorate. If I go over here to our protectorates, we can select these guys and drag them into a slot. I only have one available at the moment, but we will get more. It does cost me a lot of influence, but since these guys can generate so much more influence for us, I think it's going to be well worth it. This will also give me 2 additional population in our capital city. And not all populations are created equal. We are able to actually get more dust and science and influence during monsoons with these guys. What hero would I like to have? Well, it's going to be a hero at level 2 pretty much no matter what. They're going to have some different special counselor traits that could be relevant for us. Or, of course, just generally speaking, a different class. So we have a defender over here, we have a warrior, we have a caster. Yeah. I'm leaning toward this defender. I think this could be a good character. We'll pick you up. So one of the special powers of the Kin is that we can use something called a Holy Commandment in order to activate a special ability. Unfortunately, a lot of these abilities are ultimately locked behind your fortification level. One thing I could do if I had a bit more is I could generate some resources from a nearby deposit if it's close to an army. So if I had up to 340 fortification to become fervent in our religious zeal, I'd be able to extract this glasssteel out of here just like that. Unfortunately, I do not have that much fortification, so that's not going to be an option. I'm honestly kind of surprised we haven't run into another faction yet. Every test game I've done in this demo so far, by now I run into the necrophages and find out that they are a little harder to deal with than you would expect, but so far the game's being quite nice to me. I don't know how to feel about that. Well, let's try doing something new. You remember how I mentioned that we have Holy Commandments? I do have one ability that is currently available, and that is called Divine Service. Take one of my population and turn them into a divine population. What do? I don't know. Let's find out. We're going to go ahead and click on that ability. There we go. And now we have this person who gets me, basically across the board, more resources. Oh, they don't even cost me extra food. Huh, they're really good. Well, frick me, I guess I should be doing that all the time now. I don't know why I haven't been up to this point. Oh, wait, there's a player. Hello. I don't know who you are, but you're red. I think that actually might be the necrophage. So I am very close to them right now. Uncomfortably so. Fortunately, it looks like we might be separated by some water. That's why I haven't seen them. Okay, the waters didn't recede quite enough. Good for me. Trust me when I say the necrophage actually can be kind of scary. Their entire playstyle is all around devouring your enemies and then having tunnels that let them kind of pop up all over the world very rapidly. They reinforce large armies very quickly. It's terrifying. It's like playing the Zerg in StarCraft. Yeah, now they're sending me messages. So, the swarm hungers. You look slow and well-fed. They become mean. Right, okay. Well, welcome to the diplomacy system for the game, where I would be able to spend my influence in order to try and force along various different agreements. Again, it's another really big use for your influence. Having a lot of this is great. If we played as the Ascent faction, we actually might be able to mind control people and force them to accept treaties whether they like it or not. But we're not, so we have to play this the hard way. I do not mind closing my borders to them and saying, no, you're not allowed to come over here. They did that to me anyway. It's not going to stop them, but I can at least give myself a justification to be mad at them. Now, one thing we should take advantage of here is a fortress. This only appears in the regions that were buried by the waves, and they'll block me from placing down any camps in this region, I believe. The only way to take this region is to conquer it, which is, generally speaking, going to be a little bit more dangerous. Oh, gosh dang it, why are these guys interfering? Get out of here. So if I were to try to seize this, it says I've got a strength of 536 compared to my 714. I could plunder it and get 600 influence, which is a ton, or I could effectively turn this into a camp. Now, at the moment, I don't see anything in this region that justifies a camp, so I think 600 influence would absolutely be worth it. Unfortunately, you do have to do manual battles here. There are no instant resolutions allowed, but that's fine. It's a chance to show off my chosen. So we'll just have all of our guys here in a big, strong front line. He's got a hero who should be doing a fair bit of damage to me, but I think we'll be able to handle him no problem. My hero at this point has a bunch of active abilities that we can make use of, which are, unsurprisingly, very, very strong now. And they're really trying to kill off my chosen. I don't appreciate that at all. I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna do one giant nuke right here. Go, boom! Yeah, max level skills are a little bit strong in this game. Just run in here, we'll crush you using the chosen. They've only got one range unit left, and this will be a very, very easy fight for me. Yeah, never underestimate the power of heroes is what it's really coming down to. Heroes are very, very, very strong. Okay, so that got me a lot of dust. We also got a boar spear, we got some new armor, and we got the mantle of protection, all of which is good. Plus, we have pillaged the fortress and got 600 more influence. That is amazing. Let's go to this camp. Let's absorb this into a city as well. Oh, I can't. No! I want to get that glass steel up and running so badly. Well, I can do that even though it's not attached to a city, but I would have loved to have had it attached. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. The important thing is now I've got one glass steel production per turn. I need to send my army all the way back over here to continue with the main quest. I do have my first luxury now being mined. This is going to be familiar from the first game. As you start building up some of these luxuries, we'll be able to activate them in order to boost up my empire in some way or another. There it is. Let's take a look what we have here. Isridil. Use 20 of it to boost up approval on a city and get 50% more food. Not bad. Red Sang would be worth some extra XP. What we're generating now is Hydromiel, which would just get me 10 extra dust on a city. I mean, yeah, sure. Honestly, some of these luxuries can be very, very strong. The extra industry is very good, the extra approval, the extra food. If you can find those, they're worth picking up. And let's not forget about those improvements. As I've continued to research new technologies, we can upgrade some districts. As I said, some of them do require specific resources. For example, we could upgrade this merchant district to have a lithosphere gallery, which would get me an extra 10 dust per turn, which is pretty good, at the cost of 5 glass steel. Now, I'm currently saving my glass steel, so I'm not going to do that, but you get the idea. Over here at the works, we could spend some titanium and just boost up our production, which is solid. What is this? Hold on, we have something weird over here. A place to call home for a pair of partnered up heroes. Huh. I didn't know this was a thing, but hold on. So one thing I did just do for the heck of it over here with my character is I did go to his profile and assigned him Pierre Leroux as a companion, who I assumed was going to be like a traveling companion. Apparently I made them get married or something because he just got a home for some reason. Okay. Great. I feel like I need to turn that into a foundation. Or is it already? I can't tell. It says it costs 140. I don't think I'm getting all the yields from this. I've got no idea. Okay, well, I mean, if I am getting the yields, this is amazing. Moral of the story, pair off all your heroes. Force them to get married whether they like it or not. It's good for the Empire. So let's go ahead and pay that glass steel fee. There we go. No sign of Garen, unsurprisingly, but we did get a reward for much cheaper technology here. Unlock unit specializations. Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. Now, as we continue to develop our cities, definitely make sure you pick up this technology over here for collective will. This will allow us to upgrade our city hall like other improvements, as long as you've got the strategic resources you want, in order to make something like, let's say, a Sanctity of Nature, so we get a lot of stuff for adjacent districts, or we could have a Beacon of Science, or we could have a Spire of Industry. But regardless, the point is we'll be able to attach an extra territory onto our city. There we go, I do have another one of my holy commandments. Fully restore the health of all units in an army. That's really, really strong for something I can do every 5 turns for only 100 dust. Like, that's war-changing. We've now entered into Tier 3 for technology, which I don't know if that's ahead of time or not, but here we are. This opens up new mines, Lazulin, Hyperium. Yeah, these are things that I think are currently still hidden by the ocean. It hasn't receded quite enough, so I'm going to say that we're a little bit ahead of the curve right now, and that's good. Whoop, hold on. The AI just declared war on me. All right, so the necrophage is going to do necrophage things and try to fight me. My question is how, exactly? You are not attached to my continent in any way as far as I'm aware, so you shouldn't be able to get to me. And yet somehow, I wouldn't be surprised if the necrophages find a way. Well, the next Tidefall should be hitting us any time now. I can see from the bottom right over here, in 1 to 14 turns, the next Monsoon is going to hit. Literally any moment. And that's kind of what I've been waiting for, because if we're going to go to war against another major player, I need these oceans to continue receding. Finally got all 5 of my divine population. That took about 25 turns to accomplish, but that's okay. Now we need to clear a fortress in order to get Prija under my command. Isn't this the youth who ran away? Why would I want you? Ugh, who knows? It doesn't have to make sense. There's the Monsoon. Finally. Okay, I was itching for a good old thunderstorm. Let's go collect all the goodies before it's gone. In a lot of ways, this reminds me of the Pearls minigame from the first game. Whenever the winter came by, all the pearls would appear and you want to grab as many as you can. Except this one just gives you basic resources, so it's very easy to understand. We also get to appoint another counselor. Ooh, and I've got a lot of options now. Ooh, this is going to be a tough fight over here, actually. So we had to clear out that fortress for our quest, but there's going to be 5 enemy units, 780 strength, worth 1,800 influence, as long as we're able to deal with this. That's amazing. Well, it should be fine, because they're all currently clustered up, so as long as I get the first move with my hero, I can use my pinning volley super nuke, and a whole bunch of them go down. Look at that! What? Boom! Oh, they're all pinned. And this is where, honestly, using the terrain is so good. I mean, I have a couple of little choke points here. They can't rush out of here, which means they are all stuck, and I can just keep burning them all down. Here we go, easy enough. Okay, so even though they had equal power levels, just goes to show that the right tactics and use of terrain can absolutely obliterate an enemy. All right, so we found this stupid lady. Good lord, children these days, I tell you what, they don't respect their elders. Holy crap, these guys had a whole load of equipment. Woo, my heroes are gonna be eating good tonight. We're going to deal with a trader over here. He's only level 1, so, I mean, this should be absolutely no problem at all. And again, I'm not going to reveal all of the story here, because there is some shocking information about our Messiah to be obtained here. But, of course, you'll have to try out the game for yourself if you want to learn more. And this Monsoon is lasting for a very long time. I'm kind of waiting for the Tidefall to hit. And instead I'm just stockpiling huge amounts of dust and influence, and I'm just not really sure what to do with myself, if I'm honest. There's the Tidefall. Okay, so once again we should see that the waters are about to recede, yes? And new lands have become available, at least over in this direction. Doesn't look like much of anything new over here, maybe a little bit. Lots down in this direction, and a fair bit more over here. Still not connected up with the necrophage. I'm honestly surprised, and I feel a little bit bad, because I kind of wanted to show this off for you guys, but okay, it is what it is. And while I really do love this Tidefall mechanic, I think this is a really, really cool way of playing the game, there are a few little quirks that come out of it, and one complaint I've got for the game, for example, is one of these little independent powers gave me a quest a long time ago to chop down some trees in this particular region, but the only trees that can be found, apparently, are over here, currently buried underneath all this water, which means I have to wait for another Tidefall in like 100 or so turns in order to complete it. There's just like little quirks like that where it feels like maybe, just maybe, it needs to be tweaked. Like a little control as far as what kinds of quests can be offered to you. Whoop, hold on, did we just meet somebody else? Ooh, we found one of the peaceful factions. Oh, thank God, finally another player. Hi guys, you look kind of weird. Now, these guys have the tendency to plant down coral in their districts and let it spread like a sort of plague across the land, which gives them the ability to actually walk on the coral very quickly, including across the ocean, by the way. But if it ever gets into your own territory, they can use it to start influencing you. So these guys can be really good friends, but they also can really screw you over and use diplomacy as a cudgel, so you've got to be wary. Whoop! And whether I like it or not, it looks like our time with this demo is over. We cannot continue past turn 125. That's a shame. No opportunities for war this time around. I can say from experience, though, it really can get kind of hectic. The AI is fairly competent and can train up a lot of units. So now that I've had a chance to play through this demo with you guys, what are my overall thoughts so far? I think that this game is so far striking a lot of the same chords that I really enjoyed from Endless Legend 1. The art style and the theming is still certainly quite beautiful, and I have to say I think the Tidefall mechanic is especially fun. Not being able to predict exactly how the map is going to be changing under your feet is going to really add in an awesome level of strategy to the game. As far as the factions are concerned, it's kind of hard to say whether I'm enjoying these or not. The Kin of Sheredyn feel a little bit vanilla and basic. They've certainly got some power to them. They're not bad by any stretch, but I don't find their story or their playstyle to be especially unique or compelling. But maybe the aspects would really strike a chord for me. I'm not sure. The Necrophages definitely would. I don't know how many factions are going to be in this game. I don't think that has been announced as of yet. But as long as they can preserve the asymmetry that made the first game so good, I'm holding out hope. There are a couple of things about this game, though, that I'm not quite sold on yet, though that could change. An example might be the districts for the cities and the different buildings you construct. I understand that it's an extra level of mechanics. I don't think it's necessarily bad, though it is quite different. It reminds me a little bit more of the system that has been introduced in Civilization 7 as of late, which I think you're either going to love that or you're going to hate it. One thing I definitely would recommend changing, though, is going to be the art style and the way that the cities are presented. One thing that was kind of cool in the first game is as you built out these sprawling cities, it literally looked like you were urbanizing huge chunks of the map. But because every hex in Endless Legend 2 is taken up by just one gigantic building, it doesn't really feel like I'm building much of a city. It feels like I'm building a war camp. And I don't know, it just doesn't quite compel me in the same way. Actually, I would say in general, the graphics of the game have not wowed me quite yet. I love the art style of Endless Legend, but the graphics of Endless Legend 2 feel like they're missing some textures and some beauty to them. They feel a little bit on the flatter side. The UI, we already discussed a couple areas where I think that could improve, but I don't feel like it's quite what I want it to be. I don't know, I don't have a very good constructive criticism to offer there. I don't know what it should be. I just know it doesn't quite feel right yet, but I think with some tweaks we get there. And then of course there's just some balancing things. I feel like influence is too important at the beginning of the game and you really feel like you're starving for it at the start, but obviously by the end of this particular demo we were rolling in influence, so I don't know, maybe a bit of a tweaking for things being cheaper at the beginning of the game and then ramping up in cost a bit more later. Something can change there, but there's still plenty of opportunities for the devs to tweak those numbers. I'm not too worried about that yet. Most other mechanics I haven't talked about are pretty much going to be copies from Endless Legend 1, or at least very, very similar, so I don't feel like there's a lot for me to add there. You know, minor factions basically are going to do the same thing. Heroes largely develop in the same way, though they have different relationships. I didn't talk about the unit specializations. Sorry, I meant to do that. You don't equip them with a bunch of different individual sets of weapons and armor like you did in the first game. You just choose a specialization and then they're better in some way, right? They fulfill a different role in your army. I don't know, I think there's a lot about Endless Legend 2 that I'm looking forward to. I wouldn't say I'm coming out of this demo feeling absolutely floored, but it's enough that I'm holding out hope that I think that this is still going to develop in the direction I want it to, and it can be a great 4X game. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on it. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, I would ask that you hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell. Let me know if you want to see more Endless Legend in the future, and I will see you guys next time.